that as well. How's everyone feeling? Good? Limber? Free? How's the faster release? Yeah? Perfect. So let's think about moving the hips. Slow. Try to go as slow as you can. Yeah. And through every moment, every movement, try to push. Right? You want to push towards your range of motion. You want to feel the resistance. You want to feel the fatigue in the various glute muscles. You want to think of bringing your feet, try to squeeze the sole of your foot, push your feet inward into the mat and into the floor. As you're bringing the hips in a circle, feel the various muscles required, all right here. We come the other way around. Really focus on a strong contraction, right? And ideally, what you want is a contraction throughout the body, everywhere in the body. Right now, we're focusing intensely on the glutes and the hips and the feet. Just getting the hips to move. Really push into your range of motion. So you're going to feel restrictions. You want to go beyond those restrictions. Push. Kind of like hula hooping, right? You're thinking of having a hula hoop around you to keep it going around. You want to sort of imitate that motion. But done very slowly so you feel every muscle interacting with every muscle. Right? It's more about the feel of the muscle than it is the movement. So let's go with some of that same movement up here in the shoulders, up here in the chest. As you do so, think of maintaining that contraction at the feet and at the legs as you're pushing them together. And the same with this right here. You want to go as far back as you can. You might feel a stretch in the chest, but a contraction in the back, and push your elbows even back further. And the same thing, we're going to think of rounding the back and pushing our elbows up forward. We could use our elbows as guides, right? Or we could extend the hands as well. Now let's try for some ankle and feet strengthening. And this is just going to be going on your toes, and you're going to try to balance there. You're going to try to stay there. Feel the connection up here in the glutes. Try to think of pushing the feet together, right? Your feet are planted, they're going downward and inward while your heels are up. And this will really strengthen the ankles and the foot. One might think that something that might help is actually gripping your toes into the ground. Like if you could straighten or stretch them out, the toes, kind of like your fingers if you were to spread them out. You want to think of developing the toe spread of your feet as well. All right, so you want to think of moving them around a little bit. Just get the feel of them stretching. Feel the fatigue at the top of the foot, maybe. Right? And try to really separate the pinky toe and the big toe so they're as wide as possible. And then you can grip onto the the ground and you'll feel more balanced because your base is wider, right? As you're doing this, you can think of pushing out. You're gonna feel the grounded, the stability. Let's think of bringing the heels up, maintaining the roots grounded to the ground. Toes, well, it would be the mat right now. You think of mirroring that with your fingers up here. So you're gonna bring the thumb down and feel a fatigue, feel a resistance right here as you bring it as far inward and over as possible. And then spreading the fingers as wide as possible. So we're doing a couple of things right now. This is going to help with neuroplasticity, building new neural connections. Right, we're bringing our awareness to our extremities, building the fatigue, which equates to the strength. You really want to feel it up here in the glutes as well as you think of pushing inward and downward with the toes. Right, just the leverage that you have up here is not as strong, so you're going to really feel the fatigue as you try to bring them in. But in doing so, you're going to feel the balance of either side. You think of moving the toes, maybe clenching the toes, sole of the foot. What I like to do is I usually crack the toes, and I do so by putting weight on the toes as I'm constantly trying to spread the toes, right? They're sort of shifting, right? As I'm evolving, right? I am pushing my toes outward with either foot, right? And then with that wide stance with that wide base, then I'm pushing into the pinky toe in a sense and pushing back. So I'm have the intent of moving forward, but my pinky toe is sort of pushing me back in that position, right? This is similar to what we've done in the floor with our knees, right? Or wider out, where instead of using our legs, we're focusing on the toes to build the strength of those toes. So again, you're leaning with it, the intent of making a step, right? But your feet are planted, and then your pinky toe or your smaller toes right here, because that tripod foot is the heel, the big toe, and the little toe. So you want to build the strength of the little toes by bringing them away from the big toe and then putting your weight forward and then pushing away. This really fatigues the toes, and in some cases, if your toes actually need to adjust, they'll be cracking. You'll hear some cracking. Because what I like to do as well is ground the big toe, right? After they get fatigued, maintain constant contraction right here, grounding your toes, your little toes, but then also using your big toe, right? So then you have this same principle, and now you're pushing with sort of the middle of your foot because you're bringing both of these together to push you away. And that really gets a lot of cracks for me personally. They feel great. You feel like there's relief, there's more room for the blood flow, right? Because our shoes just constrict our feet. And then, there's like traffic that is caused. So you want to unclog the traffic literally and you'll feel those bones because there's so many bones in the feet and the toes. They're adjusting. And your goal here is to really fatigue the toes. You could use your glutes as well, just to help you fatigue them further, right? Because as you're pushing out, you want to use the medial glute and the hip. As you come out, you're going to feel that. You're going to feel the power from the toe, up the chain, calf, quad, hamstring, glute, as you push out. Same thing here. You want to try to widen the toes as much as you can. All right, let's give the toes a little break. Let's think of bringing our toes towards our knee. Now we're gonna be focusing on the connection of the tibialis. So really try to bring it to the knee until you find this connection. If you don't have this connection, then that's an area for you to find something to release the fascia, the tension, right? There's some tense fascia there. And what we're doing here is tensing the fascia, right? So you see how the yin and yang, you need both. You need to fatigue the muscle, stress the muscle, and then you need to relax the muscle, but also release the stress, right, through a massage. And you really want to focus on the fatigue of the tibialis into the ankle and maybe even to the top of the foot, because it's that same connection up here in the hand. If you bring your hand all the way towards your face and widen the hand, you're going to feel the fatigue in the back of the hand, in the back of the forearm. You even, after a while, you could think of feeling that connection up the chain, right? Feeling the quad as you straighten the knee, the bicep or the tricep as you're coming out. To feel that fatigue, stay in that struggle, stay in that challenging position. Allow the cramping to be where it is. Don't go for a full cramp, but just sort of like get there and relax, and then sort of maybe stay there. And if you manage to stay there, you will see that the muscles naturally adapt to a point where the muscle connection, the muscle contraction, is no longer something that you are um, focusing too intently in, and you're you know using a lot of energy in. It should be, in a sense, natural to activate these muscles. Second nature, kind of like breathing. I hope as you're breathing as deep as you can breathe, that will help with the VO2 max, which is the efficiency of your oxygen absorption. And we maximize that by taking deep, deep breaths, allowing our body to oxygenize, to absorb the oxygen, and then release it as slow as possible, giving the body time to absorb it. And ideally, in any exercise, or any type of exercise, if you can practice this, you'll be working more effectively, more efficiently. Because the purpose here is to bring awareness into the muscles, right? Bring oxygen into the muscles, blood flow. And so if we can breathe, take in the oxygen as much as we can with one breath, and then releasing it as slowly to make sure that we're absorbing everything. Imagine. So it's not holding of your breath. You don't want to cut the breath. It's always a flow. But as I'm speaking, right, naturally, in and out. Let's go with some more forearm hand exercises. So we're going to go inward. You're going to feel that connection, the inside, the inside of the wrist, by the hand. You could visualize a sphere right here. You could think of squeezing the sphere. So feel the fatigue all over the hand, by the wrist, by the forearm. You could think of bringing your hips, right? Sometimes we might have a tendency to bring the hips back, right, just as a form of stability. But if we try to bring, if you could see a line, right, as the belt goes, you see how it shifts up and down, kind of, right? You want it to go as high as possible, so you're almost thinking of rounding your back, but you're not rounding your back. You're rounding the lower spine, which is by the sacrum, right? So the root chakra essentially. You want to feel the connection in the hips and the glutes, right, and the hamstrings as you bring the hips forward, kind of like almost sitting into yourself, right, as you're doing this. Right, so again, you bring the hips as much forward as you can. Bring this connection right in front of you, right by your solar plexus. You can think of standing in a sphere as well, right? So we're going to be elevating the arches, right? Squeezing the sole of the foot and pushing down, visualizing standing on a sphere. Put those three aspects together. With constant energy flow, chi, and absorb, out. And if you could really feel the connection, not just here, there, and here, but everything in between as well, right? You could think of giving the shoulders and the back a movement as you're doing this. So, side view, hips forward, standing on that sphere, holding a sphere, rounding the shoulders, contracting the back. You should feel the fatigue all throughout the erector spinae into the lower back. Kind of stretch when you're over here on the back, but the connection, the contraction, in the chest and the shoulders. And you can think of holding the sphere right here, and as you bring the shoulders forward, you could think of pushing out but bringing the hands back, holding it, bring it in and out. You feel the energy going all through your body, right? As you feel the fatigue, I can think of twisting the wrists like a drill, all the way in and all the way out. Feel the fatigue, the wrists and the forearms. Let's do something similar with the hips. What you want to do is think of visualizing the movement only coming from the femur right here at the insertion of the hip. So your body is stable, right? Your hips are not moving, but the hip bone connecting to the femur, like the hand, like you would the shoulder. And including if you could feel the connection of the bicep in this position, the hamstring in this position. Try to feel that connection. And as you come this way, feel the connection more with the tricep. You could even think of bringing the hand up, right? Feeling the connection with the hip on this side. Same thing with the other side. Drilling into the mat. And I encourage you to also bend the knee because that actually gives a better connection of the hamstring in this position. Sorry, in this position. Are you going to feel the hamstring on the outer side? Because there's three hamstrings coming coming from the outsides and the middle. So you really feel the connection here by the hip, here by the tricep, which is kind of like works like the bicep. That's why two, there's three triceps. So right now you're just gonna think of spreading your feet out and wide, and think of pushing out, pushing away from your center, feeling the connection by the medial glutes. Then bringing the hands back, coming out. Then working on the rotation. The rotation in. You're gonna think like X almost, right? Right, so you have consistent pressure going outward, so the energy goes inward. And the same thing over here. You want to think of bringing the shoulders back, the chest to the sky, and in that position, rotating the wrist and down. And through every moment, right, you want to feel the resistance, the fatigue. Okay. We go into the ground. We can do so slowly. All right, so we could slowly bring the connection to our hamstrings and our quads, right, as we slightly bend with our feet out in a wide stance. We want to feel the pressure pushing in, right, with our feet, with our toes. As we descend, we want to continue to push intently and strongly into the ground, kind of like meeting the force so that it comes to zero when it comes to our joints. Essentially, you're pushing down consistently. And you're going to see me shaking because I'm pushing down as I'm trying to reach the ground. Then my hands with the heels up, the heels of the hand. All right. You want to feel a strong connection, the tibialis. You want to feel a connection, a strong connection in the hips, because you want to train them, right, to be comfortable in this position. If you could think of bringing your chest to the sky, contracting the back muscles. You could even use your hands to help you stabilize as you push out, but don't allow your knees to move. Remain grounded. So you're going to feel the connection in the inside adductors, as well as in the back, as you kind of push against your own strength. So you're trying to open up and not allow the knees to move. Now we can think of going into a knee and then kicking out, straight out. Feel the connection of the hip, inside of the leg, the adductor, and even the feet and the ankles. You want to ground them as they're that far out, away from us. Remain grounded. It's like a tree that is swayed and now takes new form as kind of like a laying tree, almost, or a leaning tree, but the roots remained grounded, did not fall. You want to think of pushing down at your foot, right? Build a balance so that you would be able to do this and be comfortable because you're constantly pushing down with that foot, and then eventually getting something like this where you're pushing down on either side, feeling that connection on the inside of the leg, right? But you're going to practice this by pushing down at the leg, at the foot, in that direction, feeling the hip as well. Bring it in, bring the other one out. Same position here. I want to think of pushing down at the foot. Feel all the muscles required for that extended foot to push down. Maybe muscles you've never felt before. So it's new recruits aiding you in your movements. In. Even think of leaning towards that foot. Could it make it a little more challenging for you? Maybe at the hip. This will help with your flexibility as well. You might feel this by your quad if you get closer and closer to the knee, by the abdomen and the obliques. Bring it in. So the thing about flexibility is about building strength and stability in these ranges of motion. So in order to unlock that flexibility, the body needs to be, the muscles need to be comfortable and strong and stable in those positions. Right, all this fatigue and cramping that you might be experiencing is just steps into stronger you. We can go into our knees. We go for a child's pose. You can think of squeezing the sole of the foot. And then here. Reaching out with your hands. Feeling the stretch in your lats. You could also think of pushing down at the tips of the fingers. Pushing downward. Feeling a deeper stretch. You could think of bringing your hip on either side, feeling a deeper stretch of the glute. So you're swaying your hips side to side in this position. You're gonna see like you want to think of feeling the connection, muscle connection in the hamstrings and the glutes as well. This could help stabilize you in this movement, right as you're coming down and almost using your hamstrings, glutes to come up and to the side. Right, it's kind of like you want to dig your knee into the ground. And you're gonna, by doing so, feeling the contraction of the hips, of the quads, the glutes, and the hamstrings. But yeah, you might feel the hip and the quad as well. Come up, feeling a stretch in the tibialis, feeling the connection again at the sole of the foot. Think of leaning back slowly, but you want to be in full control. And so you are feeling the connection of the lower back and the glutes. Lean into your lower back, into your glutes. Feel the connection from the glutes and the upper backs, right? And the mid back. As you feel the connection of the upper back as you bring the chest forward, and as you contract the glutes, then feel that energy from the lower vertebrae go up. Or you can think of stretching the foot, feeling maybe a connection in tibialis here. You could think of holding onto your heels. Maybe there's some tension there you haven't realized before. Maybe by your ankles. What this is going to help is further stretch the foot, right? As you're pushing down at the heel, pushing down at the ankle. And again, if there's some soreness, I invite you to just push into that soreness. Find where it's sore the most, at the epicenter of soreness, and then feel it. until that until that soreness goes away. You can go into your side, right? Kind of like a 90 degree, right? But you're a little higher up, so you're sitting on your foot, and you want to think of pushing down at the calf. Try to see if there's any soreness or any pain that comes up. You push down on the calf, and the calf should be relaxed. Try to relax that calf, right? So you should be able to push down, and there should be no pain, right? So if there is some pain, you want to stay there. You can come down if something else is more painful. That's where you want to go to, right? As you go down the ankle, because as you're pushing down, right, you're squeezing the ankle. You're bringing blood flow into that area, sort of a muscle reset. And as you bring blood to that area, it starts to heal and feel better. It starts to rehydrate. Then you'll be more limber, more free in your movements. Usually you can do this as well with a foam roller or something. But you could easily just do it with your hands as you push down. You want to think of pushing down with this part, right? And sort of having a grip where you're pushing downward like this. So if you were to do a punch, a strong position for that would actually be something like this, just because of the way that the wrist bones are made up. Right? Something like this is a lot more stable than something straight like this, because the bones right here will then be compressed. While over here, downward, they would be more straight along with these bones and would be more stable. So that kind of position, right, instead of this one On this part, you're going to feel the stability required to push down strongly. You can think of going to the other side as well. You want to go from every inch, right? Every inch from the all the way down to the ankle, all the way up to the calf. You want to inch upward, bring that healing energy of your own hands, right? Having the intention to heal yourself, applying pressure where needed. Do not shy away from the soreness or the pain, but embrace it as it seeks to be felt, as an emotion is seeking to be felt. In a way, you want to surrender to that pain or soreness and let it go. You want to get to a point where you can push your entire upper body into that area. You could even use the palm, the heel of the palm. That's going to have greater effect if you need more pressure. You also go to the side where the calf meets the shin, right by bringing the foot to the side. Use your palm on that area. Right. Calf up here, because the calf comes up here and wraps around the back of the foot. It ends right about there. So getting that part as well.
Right now, I found a specific point where it's just sort of almost like a sharper pain. And that's what I'm going to be focusing on. Because from there, everything else is sore. Right? That's the root. Want to find that root, just stay there,